welcome everybody to another episode of Dream Chasers podcast. My name is Connor, and I'm the host for today. And today we have a guest that I met on Twitter. We've been connecting and talking for past week or so, or actually it was past couple weeks. And so I was just like, hey, I recently started a podcast. You want to maybe hop on a call sometime? And so here we are. And so today we have Ajayi all the way from Nigeria. So thanks for being here, Ajayi. How's it going?
Thank you. Good. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome to the internet is pretty crazy how we can literally be on opposite sides of the world and still do this, which is pretty nuts, but it's great. And so first of all, I just wanted to maybe have you introduce yourself and your story, your background, and everything like that.
All right. Where do I begin? So my name is Ajayi. Like you said, I'm in Nigeria. I mean, I don't know if it would be right to say I incarnated here. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I staying here, being here in Nigeria. First of all, I mean, it has changed my. I won't say changed. It has made my consciousness develop in a rather different way from the rest of the world because it's a different thing. Yeah. First of all, it's a different thing on all levels. I can't even just start making a list of what I mean by it's a different thing. Yeah. But at the same time, as much as I'm probably starting from this part because I mean connecting with you, it's amazing to me because I've always felt like an alien, and meeting amazing minds on Twitter and like you as well. It has made me realize a lot of things. First of all, despite the fact that the universe has placed us in different geographical location, but there's still a common ground, and the common ground that I mean here is not necessarily Twitter. Because I believe before we met on Twitter, we probably met somewhere, probably in the astral plane or whatever you want to call it. But I don't believe random. I don't believe in random connections. I believe I believe the universe aligns everything just the perfect way. So a little bit about myself. I'm just formless, basically, bro. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just formless.
Did you say you're homeless?
Formless.
Oh, formless.
I don't know if you get the point. I'm just formless because if it's a lot of things I would like to say. First of all, my growing up, and it's funny because when as much as I can remember now, my childhood, bro, I've always felt like something was wrong. I don't know if wrong is the perfect word to use. I've always felt like, man, I was just thinking about this evening, there is something unusual about air, and I've always knew that from when I was young, and from when I was a kid, and there was no platform for me to talk about all this kind of thing because over here you don't even have the platform to talk to someone because you hardly find minds that are walking like yours, who are thinking on the plane that you are thinking, who perceive the world, who perceive the universe the same way that you perceive the world. So, growing up, I've always felt like, man, there is something unusual about this place. And then, up to this point, I just kept following my intuition, so to speak. And, and I look back at everything right now, and it's just, I don't even know where exactly to pinpoint everything from because I genuinely feel like, who my consciousness, whatever form my consciousness has evolved to today is it's almost like intentional from my childhood. It's from my childhood to where I am today. It's just there have been no mistakes. I mean, there have been pain along the way, mental pain, emotional pain. I had to deal with a lot of traumas. I have to deal with a lot of mental health issues, and but at the same time, I wouldn't change that if I had the opportunity to change it, because everything has contributed into something that seemed more like a passion for me today. That I want to talk to people. I just want to see souls get free mentally. I just want to see people evolve, and I wouldn't probably have this passion today if I hadn't gone through all the things that I've gone through. So that's a rough sketch.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because you're talking about how you don't believe in coincidence, and I definitely agree with that. How everybody we meet, I feel has some purpose for meeting them. Even if it's just a stranger walking by you on the street, that has some underlying meaning. It might not be impactful in a lot of ways, but what you said, I don't think we met by just coincidence. We were talking on Twitter, and you said about meeting in the astral plane, whatever the listeners believe in, reincarnation, heaven, whatever it may be, I think everything has a purpose for it.
For real.
No,
I agree.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
And I was just careful to throw out, because I don't really know the kind of audience that you have, or the kind of audience that you're trying to build. I'm just careful to throw out. Words like astral plane, or or incarnation, because this kind of terms, they are alien terms to a lot of people all over the world. Most people in the world, probably more than 50% of the world population. So I'm just careful to throw out that word to all the astral plane and all the all these spiritual terms and all these things.
No, I agree. I think most people would agree that there is some quote soul, spirit. This isn't just our life and then everything else ends. There's something more intrinsic, deeper than just our bodies, and I think most people would agree with that.
Exactly.
And no matter what you call astral plane or afterlife, whatever it may be, I think people kind of have a subconscious idea of that, just because it's part of us. It's in our DNA.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just connected to someone, and you can't even explain why you're connected to that person. It's almost like there was this girl that I met, I think 2 years ago, and it was weird, bro, because I felt like I always knew this girl, even though we were meeting for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I think it's real, and I think it is true. But I feel like the more we as human beings, we bring this aspect of us, this rather mysterious aspect of us into the open, bring it into our conscious awareness. I feel like we are unlocking more of our superpowers.
Yeah, definitely.
I really feel that way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would kind of have had that feeling where they meet somebody for the first time, they connect with them, and they just have this, they kind of realize that there's this deeper connection. It's like what you said with that one girl, how it feels like you've met, or you've known each other your entire lives, but you literally just met. I think a lot of people have experienced that, and that's a lot deeper than just these us as physical human beings interacting. There's something more underlying and a deeper meaning to that. Yeah, so I guess our space on Twitter, I feel like a lot of people call it spiritual Twitter community. Have you had a spiritual, in a sense, spiritual journey? Because I know we kind of have talked about that a bit, on Twitter and stuff. What was your kind of moment, or your journey like, where you're like, oh, there's like a lot deeper meaning to like the universe, like my energy, my spirit, and whatnot? Like, what's your spiritual journey in a sense? What has that been like for you?
I like the fact that you said walk through the spiritual journey. But I think that.
Yeah, like, let's see. How can I explain this? Because, like, okay, for me personally, I was raised like Christian, like the Christian religion, and I just like growing up, I just didn't really know any better. I didn't have like a say in going to church, because I was too young to kind of form my own opinions and stuff.
It was the same thing for me too. It all started with church. It all started with church. We just started going to church, and then for me, something just at some point, something just stopped making sense in church. Even while I was in church, at some point, I don't know, it just started not making no sense to me anymore. And then, and I feel like it was because probably because I was awakening at that point. Probably that was the beginning of my awakening when I felt like the teachings of the church was not just carrying the I don't know what's this word, the authenticity of the universe language. I just felt like there's something about the church that was still missing. I felt like it was not perfect. And then I had to. I was just following my intuition, bro. All this was just I was just following my intuition. And then I had to leave the church, and then I was actually not engaging in any kind of spiritual practice. But all of a sudden, bro, I started seeing 11:11. I'm talking about like this all started in 2017, and that was when I lost my dad. So I felt like the fact that I lost my dad, it's a blessing in some kind of way, because the fact that he was no more physically around. My soul was longing to connect with him, and then the fact that my soul was longing to connect with my dad, I felt like that's the only place that my soul could probably connect with my dad, was not obviously not the 3D plane. So I started going within myself unconsciously. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just started going within myself, like because there was something in me that felt like I could connect with my dad. There was just something in me that I felt like I could connect with my dad, and I started trying to connect with my dad. So that was the beginning for me, and then the fact that was the beginning of me going within myself. That was the beginning, and then I started seeing random numbers. I was born on September 17, 1995, and then all of a sudden I will start seeing 17 all around the place. And it became so much that I knew for a fact that, man, this is not totally an accident anymore.
Yeah.
Bro, like I could check the time. I could check the time like 4 times a day, and whatever time I peak, or whatever time whatever moment I choose to check the time on my phone, it will be something 17. It could be 117, 417, 317, and this started going on and on and on, and then I went to Google, and then I so the first thing was I started googling the meaning of these numbers, and then I realized that numbers are sacred. So that was and then I started adding the puzzle together, like piecing up the puzzle together. So I was born on September 17, 1995. This is this all the stuff that they calculate with the age thing, horoscope and all those things. And then I started piecing up the puzzles together, and then it was starting to make sure that the universe is trying to tell me something about myself. So and then I started getting pulled in. I started to, at some point I was meditating like really well, and then I just started, bro. The basic point is I just started going within myself, and because I was feeling I constantly felt the urge to go within myself. There was the intuitive feel to go within myself, to come within myself, and also whenever I look outside, whatever the universe as well was also telling me to go within myself. That was the beginning, and then the more I just continued, and then I just became, how would I even put it right? I started to merge with my higher self, like gradually, and that was the merging with my higher self was I won't even say I'm there totally yet, because I'm still evolving. I'm still getting to know more of myself. It feels like it's a journey that will never end. It feels that way. So I for me to get in touch with my higher self, I had to deal with a lot of traumas, bro. Things I never knew, like things from the past, things from when I was a child, all sort of mindsets, all sort of beliefs, all sort of energies that was in my energy field. Like I had to go deep into that dark side of myself, that dark side of my ego, and then I started an healing process. Ever since then, and sometimes I feel like there was even a time that I felt like, okay, I'm done with all this healing, and then no. So that's a rough sketch as well. It's a lot. It's a lot to say. I'm just careful to say. I'm just careful. I'm just really careful to say the right things, bro.
No, yeah, that's fair. Take your time for like saying whatever. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like more people, or let's the majority of society, like they don't realize that there is like a deeper connection with your internal self. Like everybody looks externally for whether it be validation for different things, whether it be like trying to find answers externally. But I think the only way you can really find that is like what you did, like looking within yourself, trying to kind of better understand and learn about yourself and like why you're here from your past and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. That's the point. That people don't people. I don't know. Probably because if not for the fact that the universe, if not the fact that the universe intentionally tried to wake me up, I wouldn't. I always thought, I was just here, just like everybody else, and that is not the truth. Everyone on this planet, at this moment in time, right now, everybody is here for a reason. Nobody's an accident on this planet.
Exactly.
And so everybody's special. Like we can't. People can't even believe, bro, because the conditioning and the programming of the world, people can't even believe how amazing they are. Like the kind of powers they have, the kind of mind they have, the kind of beauty, the kind of love that is embodied inside of them. There's a lot of we are just more than flesh, bro. We are more than all that we can see. If we decide to go within, there's beauty inside, there's power inside, there's a lot of love inside of us.
Exactly.
So, and you can, I feel you can really, at this moment in time, I feel like you can. It's hard to it's hard to look at people and just imagine, like, really, why are you guys not like, there was a point like that along my journey when I really felt alienated from the whole world. And I didn't really have the Twitter community then, but I was only limited to the physical environment that I have. There was not that I didn't have internet, but I haven't connected with the guys on Twitter. So at some point I always felt like, why is everyone not doing the things that I was doing? Not the spiritual practices, but I felt like, why is everybody not going within themselves to understand themselves? Why is everybody just outward projected? Just living outwardly. There was never a conscious effort to go within themselves and just understand what it is they are and what the universe is all about, basically. So there was a time like that. There was really a time like that. And one thing for me, I feel like I pray, I hope, I don't know the right word to use, that people will wake up to who they truly are, bro. Because I mean, if you go out into the world, like I was just coming from somewhere before this call. I went to get some things, and bro, you know, the things that I see, man, the things that I see people do, you know, it, there's so much unconsciousness in the world, bro. Like,
I definitely agree. Yeah, I think like what you're saying about like kind of being amazed at like how people kind of just look externally and like everything like that and don't really understand like what needs to be done when they look like internally for answers and everything like that. Like I think a lot of that is the way that the system and society just works. Like there's such it creates like this disconnect between you and like your inner power, if you want to call it that, and then like because we're just kind of conditioned to look for answers externally, and but that's not the case. Like you need to look internally for answers. Like you can only find so many. You can only learn about yourself by looking within, and we're not really taught that. We're taught to look and learn from exterior things, which isn't really the case.
It's because the way the current world is set up right now. When my journey began, bro, that was, I don't know if you know SSS Tentacion, but he was an American rapper. I think an artist, just an artist. I don't know if they call it, if he's basically a rapper. That was the time that he died, and then I got to know about him then, and then he's one person that is very um, pivotal in my journey, because I mean his videos shared a lot of things, and one of the things that I'm particular about is one of the things that you were just saying about how there is so much, like the world, literally, the way the world is set up, literally, it's almost like the way the world is set up is literally made to disconnect people from their inner power.
Exactly.
Because you have the phone, you have the computer, you have all these things. You have all and these things are not bad in themselves. It's the way that we humans have decided to use these things. Like, because attachment to anything is suffering.
Yeah.
And so, as human beings, I feel like we have not the majority of the human population has not got to a point of consciousness where they are in the driver's seat of their lives, spirit wise, soul wise, body wise. There's just especially the mental side of it, because once a lot of people feed their mind, it's just basically on the social media,
Yeah.
The social media largely, a large portion of the social media, bro, is full of distraction, irrelevant news, a lot of things that is basically meant to distract you from who you truly are. And until we get to that point where we just realize that a lot of the things that we consume on the internet, for example, a lot of the things that we consume that is outside of us, that we allow the government to place outside of us and call it the news or whatever it is they want to call it, all these things are distractions. And that if we can come in with themselves, and bro, I feel like whatever it is that the large, whatever they call it, the collective consciousness, whatever stage of evolution that they are right now, or whatever stage of consciousness that they are right now, I feel like everything it's still intentional in some ways, because I feel like one of the things that the universe is doing basically is to use the good and bad to let people awake to themselves. For example, when the Black Lives Matter campaign came up, when the Black Lives Matter campaign came up, there was a lot of rumor, a lot of news about it. But if for most spiritually inclined people that I know, then they still see such a sad incident, such a not so good incident as still a way for the universe, as still a way by the universe telling the people to awaken to themselves. But how many people will you tell that such kind of like thing, um, that like people want you to take sides over and say, okay, I'm in support of this person, or I'm in support of the black man, or I'm in support of the white man. People want you to take side that way. How will you tell people that that kind of incident, for example, is also the universe trying to tell people something if they are spiritually awakened to themselves?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like what you were saying with the whole Black Lives Matter movement last year and just throughout the years, like literally everything that the system, the current system, society, news, media, whatever it may be, like literally everything is meant to divide people into two groups. Like
exactly.
In that case, it was like you're either with the Black Lives Matter movement or you're against it. There's no in between. You're either Republican or you're Democrat. There's no in between. It's just everything is such a divide, and that is another distraction. Like what we were talking about, like trying to take away from, distract you from like finding yourself and looking within for answers. Like you're not gonna find like all the answers and have this connection with yourself by being in this like kind of closed-minded, like two-sided thing, because there's always more than two sides to literally everything. Like it's not just
duality.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just black versus white, not just Republican versus Democrat, whatever it may be. There's always gonna be like a top-down angle. There's always like a sideways angle, whatever it may be. Like it's just like taken away from like a distraction, to take away from looking within for answers, I think is honestly the reason for this whole divide. And that's like that's a reason why, like, I think kind of going back to what you were talking about the internet and like social media and stuff, like you can use it for incredible things. Like you can learn almost anything online now with the internet. Like you have the world at your fingertips, but you can also use it to like just become like a lazy, like watch YouTube all day and everything. It's what you do with it. It's what you do with it. Like
of course, it's what you do with it. And it's I don't know, for people to cross over, bro. I think it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult to unless the universe intentionally awaken someone. Sometimes I feel like it's just you don't awaken by accident, honestly.
Yeah.
You don't really awaken by accident, because I think about like to cross, like I think about my journey from when I was in that level of that level of consciousness. I think about the feeling. I never knew there was a different state of consciousness. I never knew we were meant to evolve. I never knew there was an other side to all the duality game, all the black and white game. And and the thing it's almost like confusing, because if you're not on this side, if you're on this side, the person on the other side is blaming you and judging you for taking the side that you're taking, and you can't please. It's high time we realize this, bro. That the Republican, Democratic, the black white game is just a loser's game.
Exactly.
It's just a loser's game. It's just a loser's game. There's nothing there. It's all an illusion. It's just an illusion. And if people can make the conscious effort to get out of that, from that level of consciousness, or from that illusion, and we wouldn't have all this killings and all this. It's just so much. I don't know, man. It's so much unconsciousness to I feel like when you get to some kind of like level, because I don't even want to say level, because I don't feel like it is right to use the word level when it comes to consciousness, because it is just gone, evolving to be whatever it is, a certain level of consciousness, and you see the things that the people are doing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And going back to when you were talking about how, like, before, like, when you realized there wasn't really different levels of consciousness, we'll say, and just, like, like from where we are now to looking back to, let's say, 5 years ago when we had no idea about like, I don't know, looking within and like all this stuff, like these distractions, these divisions that we've talked about, like it's
Okay.
looking down from like that angle that we kind of see this divide and everything like that. It's kind of crazy to think that most people are just stuck in this two-dimensional worldview, and like to us, it's just so obvious, like how crazy like it actually is. But it's like it's hard for me to like think about how like a lot more of society doesn't really like see the division and everything like this. But like when we were like that, and we were like just living, trying to kind of stuck in the matrix, I guess you could say, like I guess it's hard, and it's hard to kind of look past that unless you have some sort of something that like kind of helps you, pushes you in the right direction to like kind of better understanding it.
It's hard. It's hard to get out of the TV illusion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has been built so well. I mean, it is falling now, but it was built so well that, man, when you are out of it, you can't just imagine what you're out of.
Exactly.
Like, it's just
I can't like right now I can't imagine being like stuck in this system, this society that like the rest of the world lives in. Like looking into it from I like to
it's a lot of systems and a lot of beliefs to break away from.
Exactly. Like I like to look at it from like or think about it as like looking down on this two-sided division from like a top-down perspective, like from above, and it's just so hard to think about how like people can't see that they're literally trapped inside this box. They have this two-dimensional view. They're not, if they just like step outside the box just a little bit, have this thing that pushes them in the right direction, like they'll be able to see everything. But it's crazy how the world works.
I think it goes back to what you said the other time. You said something, I'm paraphrasing you now, but you said something like it's quite difficult to get out of the 3D matrix.
Yeah.
Unless you have some kind of like help, some kind of like internal help from the universe. I feel that way too. I totally feel that way. I think you said you probably expressed it right. It is, I mean, and where does the help come from? That's the question. I don't. It's almost like maybe the universe, sometimes probably like the aligning of the stars or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably those things play a huge role in how people awaken. But the bottom line is still, unless there is some kind of like help, I totally agree with you. It's quite difficult to get out of the 3D matrix unless you have some kind of like help.
Yeah, like
unless there's no help.
Like I'm not sure like why you or me were really like kind of pushed in the direction of like, in a sense, raising our consciousness and like seeing past everything. But especially me, because like you, in your case, your dad passed away, right? And you said 2017, like, and then you started seeing like recurring numbers, which are, I kind of want to get into a bit, like the synchronicities of all these recurring numbers, like, and I think a lot of people have kind of experienced that in a way. Like I remember when I was a kid, like whenever we'd see 1111 on the clock, it'd be like, oh, make a wish, it's 1111, like it's a repeating number. And like it all means something, but people don't like, and I think people have this kind of this feeling that it's bigger than like just a coincidence. But like I think part of it is that it sounds kind of crazy that like just these numbers can have this special meaning. But is there anything you want to like add on to that about like other synchronicities you've experienced, or like go deeper into the like repeating numbers or whatever it may be?
Yes. First of all, based on my growing up, there was no awareness. I had no awareness about the fact that numbers and all those things. I had literally no awareness about the fact that numbers could mean anything. The only idea that I knew about, the only cogent idea that or cogent meaning that I have about numbers was just the math. We did mathematics, and so we used numbers, and that was all. That was basically what numbers were meant for. But then when I started seeing my numbers, my curiosity just went out to move because I knew for a fact that it was almost like I was going crazy. I had a friend there, a female friend. I told my friend, I told the girl that I was with. I was just sharing with her that I see this recurring number 17, and I'm starting to feel like it's kind of like weird. And then bro, we were sitting on the table, we were sitting face to face with each other, and then we got into a conversation, and then we were not talking about the number thing anymore. And then I asked her, like I was trying to ask her what's the time. And you wouldn't even believe, bro. We checked the time on my phone and on her phone. It was 8:17. It was almost like my spirit was aware. It's almost like my spirit was just aware of that. Whenever the time says whatever 17, 4:17, 1:17, 8:17, just whatever hour that carries 17. It's almost like my spirit is just awakened to that time. I checked the time at that time. Whatever time I also asked someone. What the time says. I asked the person that at that time, at that 17 time. So for me it was just, and the fact that like I said, my birthday was 17. I just felt like I just started feeling like there's some sort of like there could be a connection. That was what I felt then. Even now, looking back on it, bro, I just see it as a wake up call. That's just what I see. Now I see numbers now. I see 555 now. I see, but now I think I know the meaning now because I am now. I feel like probably seeing synchronicity numbers is more or less like the universe winking at you. That's
exactly. Yeah, that's how I like to think of it. Like when you see a repeating number like that, like you're moving in the right direction. It's like a just a kind of a hint from the universe.
And one thing I would like to add is, depending on the level that you are, on your journey, depending on your level, I don't want to use level. I don't think it's right to use level. Depending on your, on the current state that you might be still almost synonymous with level. But I just hope you understand what I'm saying. Like depending on, where you are on your journey.
Yeah.
Over time, for me, the number started changing. And then, so that's what I mean by depending on your That's what I mean by depending on your current stage of journey. So when the number started changing for me, it was changing in alignment with the theme, the subject matter of how I was evolving. Probably I was dealing with. There was time that I was dealing with a lot of insecurities because by growing up, I was exposed to a lot of places that were not mentally healthy, and then they affected me in terms of being secure, not emotionally secure, but like being physically secure because I was exposed to a lot of things that like a lot of riots, a lot of fights, and all those things when I was growing up, and then at some point on my journey, I was looking into all the traumas that I've built up, in my childhood, and then I started seeing 444, and then I went to check the meaning of 444. Actually, have there's this thing that I have on my phone, like a picture that explains the meaning of 111 to 999. So I went to check 444, and then it's the meaning of 444 on the picture that I have says, to be conscious of my environment and also that my spirit guides are telling me to let me know that I am safe and all those things. So it's a communication. That's the way that I see it. It's a communication. Though at some point, that's why I'm particular about the fact that depending on when you are on your journey, the meaning starts changing. Obviously, the number starts changing. I don't know if it's that way for everybody, but for me, that was what happened. The number started to change, and then the meanings started to change, and the meanings started to resonate with all what I was trying to unpack mentally or what might be going through my mind at that particular point in time. So it's a communication basically. It's a communication.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to add on to what you were saying about like the different sections of where you are in your journey, and like kind of having the different meanings. I always like to think of life as like a chapter book, and where each chapter of your life is going to have some different meaning, and like you're going to go through a lot of different things. At least for like me, this is like kind of I guess you could say, the chapter in my life where I'm kind of like exploring more about like myself and just like kind of learning about what I want to do in life and everything. And then like maybe 10 years from now, it'll be like the chapter where I'm starting a family and like doing all this. And I think like definitely looking at it from that perspective and thinking about it in that way, it's helpful to like think about how all these different kind of repeating numbers and other synchronicities and you could say like nudges from the universe, like kind of have different meanings, like depending on what section or what chapter in a way you are in your life. Yeah. So do you have like a time limit or anything? Like I have a couple more points kind of to talk about. You don't have to go anytime soon, or like.
I'm with you, bro.
Okay, cool.
No.
Okay. So
I'm actually at the backyard. I'm at the backyard. I don't know if you get the crickets, but I'm close to nature right now.
Yeah, I can hear the crickets.
It's a good place for me. I come here like a lot of times. This is one of the places where I refresh myself.
Yeah, no, it's good because yeah, I definitely feel the same way. Like nature and just being outside, no matter like kind of where you are and like the point of the day, whether you're like happy or just stressed or whatever it may be, like just going outside and being in nature is just such a beneficial thing to like help cope with anxiety and stress and just like brighten your mood. At least like I found that just taking a walk, or like especially when it's sunny outside, it just puts me in such a better mood.
Yeah, I was taking the sun 2 days ago, and then I saw a snake, and the snake was not like the snake was just on the fence and just chilling. Nature is healing.
It is, yeah.
Nature is healing, bro. I haven't taken drugs. I haven't taken medicine. I haven't taken medicine for like I think 2 years now, because I changed a lot of things about myself. I changed a lot of things about the way that I eat. I changed a lot of things about the way that I spend my time. I take the sun more. I spend more time in nature, in the woods. I go into the woods all by myself. I just immerse myself in the energy of nature. And when I come out of nature, bro, I feel like it's just like I went for a mind wash or something.
Yeah, like it's like a breath of fresh air, kind of. It's like a reset to like kind of back to your kind of, I guess, like in a way connecting back to like yourself and your inner self. It's just like a reset to like your mind, your body, and everything.
Of course. All of a sudden, you won't be able to eat the food that you can eat. It just kind of strange.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange because there's something. I 3 years ago, I was consuming meat like crazy, bro. But now, for real. But now I can't even. To be honest with you, I still take chicken. I like fried chicken.
Yeah. No, that's fried chicken is good.
What?
Fried chicken's pretty good.
Majorly, most like I would say 90 to 95% of what comes into my body system is just nature, veggies, foods, just basically just nature.
Yeah, I can definitely kind of resonate with that, just because like over the past year or two, like the more I kind of learn about how I don't know what it's like in Nigeria or anything, but like a lot of foods here in America are just packed with preservatives and sugars and just all these chemicals that are like so unnecessary. Like
it's same thing here too, bro. The same thing here.
Yeah, and like so, as I learn more about that, and then also as I kind of in a way connect more with myself and like kind of I've listened to my body a lot more. Like before when I was growing up and just whatnot, I just kind of eat just because it sounded good. I mean, I still do that sometimes, not gonna lie. But like I'll just eat whatever just because it sounds good. But like the more you listen to your body and like what your body needs, like you'll start to kind of like foods will make you feel a different way. Like food packed with like preservatives and sugars, and then this like fresh fruit from nature and whatnot. Like it'll make you feel completely different. Like one will make you feel full of energy and everything. The other will just make you feel like so sluggish. And
what did you say? One will make you feel what?
oh, like sluggish. Like the I don't know if it's just like how do I put it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I was this. People actually prefer to buy a fruit juice. I don't know how it is over there, but over here or down here, people prefer to buy a fruit juice and not actually buy the real fruit. It's amazing.
Oh, interesting.
And
like
the funniest part of, the funniest part of it is fruits are actually more cheaper compared to the fruit juice that a lot of people buy. And fruit juice has a lot of sugar, has a lot of chemicals.
They pack all these drinks with like if it says like 100% fresh juice, they still add like a ton of sugar.
Tons. So where we at?
I've kind of just been going off of what we've talked about, which has been great. I've loved this conversation so far, but
I hope I'm not getting. I hope I'm not talking. I hope I'm not talking out of point most of the times.
No, you're fine.
I feel like
just honestly talk about whatever. I love this conversation so far. We've gone in a lot of different directions, and it's great. But now I kind of want to get into your writing and like sharing your personal message because you are a writer, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so like kind of have you always been into writing or like how did you get into that and like why is it important for you to share your message through words and through writing?
It's more or less like a passion. I never knew it would be a major passion, but it's one reason why I like the fact that we're having conversation because before we open this conversation, I had the time to reflect on myself. Like I just let my mind wander around some of the things that you might ask, and it came to my mind that obviously you might want to ask about what was it like for me, my growing up or whatever, like what has led to what I'm doing today or the kind of passion that I have today. I was looking back and then it's just amazing because it just became so clear to me because I remember some kind of like memories from my childhood because I have this kind of like I don't know what they call it. I can't remember what they call it. Photographic memory.
Yeah.
There's some scenes from my childhood that like probably like when I was 4, when I was 5, I see have scenes in my head, that they're just there. They're just there, and I can pick them up like I'm literally looking at like a photo or like a picture on my phone. So I have this picture on my head. I have this picture in my head where I think I was 3 or 4, and I think I've always been drawn to books. Basically, I've always been drawn to writing. I can remember there was a story that I was writing. There was a story that I was writing, and I mean, I had no reason at all to write that story because I was not even up to 5 then. But it's just like, and yesterday or 2 days ago, I was more watching this cartoon, Soul. I don't know if you've seen this cartoon.
Oh, the Soul, the Disney movie? Yeah, I've seen that.
The cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched. I was re-watching the movie the cartoon 2 days ago, and then the part that came to that came alive. Another part that came alive for me was the issue of spark. Finding your spark.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like one of Jerry at some point told the guy, I've forgotten his name now, told the guy that your spark is basically your idea of life, or your the way you've chosen to see life, basically. So, and for me, it's just I just only wanted to write. I've always wanted to write. It's just, even though there's always that thing at the back of my head, and probably it's just down to the programming that came up, all the energies that came up with me when I was a child. Even though I knew in my heart that I always want to write. There's always this imposter syndrome thing, not feeling good enough, not feeling good enough, like feeling like you don't even have enough to share, whatever it is that you want to write is not even worth writing. There's always been that, and sometimes when I try to write today, it still comes up. But for me, it's just like I think you have this thing that you post a lot. It's more or less like you say. I think like everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell your story, it's almost like the stories of the world won't be complete. Because I mean, we are so intelligent. The whole human race, we are so intelligent. If every one of us, if we write a book every day, we wouldn't run out of anything to write about, because we are so intelligent. If my story is uniquely different from yours, and it is uniquely different from every other person's on the face of the earth.
Exactly.
So, and it's just basically I just wanted to share my story, and I just feel like I didn't go through all the things that I went through, all the traumas, all the mental health, all the mental health issues, all the battles, all the shadow works that I had to do. I had to unpack a lot of things mentally for me to get to this point of freedom. And I see people going through the same challenges that I go through as well. So crossing over that line of all the things that I went through, and how I was able to unpack everything and solve everything for myself. I just feel like, man, if anything, to begin with at all, I feel like that is what sharing to the world. That is what sharing to people, because it gives me joy. One, it gives me joy. It makes me feel. I just know, not feeling now. I know that it is one of the things that I'm here to do. It's just my intuition constantly telling me that one of the things that my body is here for. One of the reasons why I've incarnated at this point in time is to help elevate the level of human consciousness. And one of the ways, or one way that I have chosen before, in the great beginning, or before we incarnated here, one of the ways that I feel like I chose to help elevate the level of human consciousness is through writing, because it is one thing that will span for years. Because I mean, there's some things that I read on my phone, and it was things, just articles, short writings that was written by the sages of the past, the likes of Sri Ramanashi, all these guys. I mean, the words that he wrote then, those words has lived on even till now. Even though those people passed away, their words is still like it's still freeing people mentally. It's still explaining to people what they are or who they are. So I feel like I probably have similar passion too. Just when something pops up in my mind, feel sharing. Even though I feel like I'm not 100% there yet, because I feel like I'm not sharing at the level, or at the rate that I feel I'm expected to. But I'm not being out of myself. Neither am I being. I'm not giving myself too much grace too. But I feel like I look at the short term goals, and I look at the long term goals. I feel like if I just keep write 6 pages, whatever it is that I can write, at any given time that I can, I feel like it will develop into an habit that will probably or most likely take a bigger shape that I might not be able to probably see right now. So it's passion and it's just a thing that I'm doing from the art. It's just my art expressing itself. It's just I'm not holding my art back. I'm not holding my spirit back. So I'm just letting the spirit. It's just the spirit expressing itself. So
Yeah,
it's purpose, bro.
I love that. I love how you said everybody has a story to write, because I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually wrote just this like short tweet the other day that was like, everybody has a story to write. It's just a matter of realizing your story is worth telling, because so many, like, what we talked about, like, even just you and I, we grew up in completely different places. We have a completely different background. We have all these different like ideas and beliefs and perspectives and experiences and everything. Just like everybody has a story to tell, because we just are like different, like we come from different places and have these different backgrounds and whatever it may be. It's just a lot of people are, I think, kind of don't realize that their story is worth telling. Like, people are interested in kind of better connecting with people and understanding them, and kind of just like hearing the different ideas and experiences that people have. And I think that's something that's so powerful with writing, and just any like expression of art and creativity. Is just like, writing is kind of, it's the most raw form of your mind, in my opinion, because it literally goes, especially if you're writing on paper, like with a pencil or a pen, like it's literally your thoughts from your mind are going directly to this physical piece of paper. And it's pretty incredible, like what, like when you think about it, what it is,
Of course. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, and
I agree.
You talked about imposter syndrome and like having kind of imposter syndrome. Like, will people understand or just be interested in my writing? And I think almost everybody experiences imposter syndrome in some aspect. It might not be writing necessarily, but whatever they may do. And I've definitely experienced that. Like,
even in expressing themselves, it's all pervading.
Exactly. It's like
people are not 100% people are not 100% confident in who they are. Because there's this thing in the society that makes you feel like you're not good enough.
Exactly.
It's not like the society is making you feel like you're not good enough, but it's somehow something within every human being. Probably when they probably picked it up when they were a child or when they were in school, but it is there in most people around the place of the world.
Yeah, no, so, I agree. Like, even just being, like, no matter what it is, like, I know a lot of people, like college students, like freshmen in college, kind of get imposter syndrome because they kind of subconsciously or consciously think that they're not good enough to like be at that school or just whatever it is. Like, it's just
there's several things.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you short, bro.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's just a lot of things that you said something about, like, probably they unconsciously or subconsciously pick the fact that they are not good enough up, and it's just like, and I'm seeing this in a lot of people. I'm seeing this sometimes almost myself, to like almost unconsciously wanting to pick all this negative information about myself, because from parenting, for me, I think that's one of the things. That's one of the problems. That's one place that the problems was for me. Like, not feeling good enough. I had a good family, but they were not perfect, because they were not even able to recognize the fact that they had traumas, experience that they had to deal with before even giving birth to kids, and then the fact that they were not able to deal with their own traumas after they had kids. They started pouring out the trauma unconsciously too on their kids, and then the kid will go out into the outside world with all this false and negative information about himself, and then it goes into the outside world. So, and the outside world is filled with a lot of people who are so much like the kid who has false information about themselves. They are picked up from friends and family too, and then they impact the child to who is already coming up with negative information from himself and from his family, and then they impact with the child with more false information about himself, and then the child goes to social media and looks a lot of and looks at the people who are wearing better clothes, wearing better shoes, living better life in quotes now, and the child himself and the child picks another information, and it's almost like wherever you move, if you are not conscious of the fact that I don't want to pick up negative information about myself, there are loads and loads of negative information to pack into your system, and bro, it's all around the world. And for me, I think the writing thing is just made me realize the fact that I had to deal with this thing.
Yeah.
I just, as a writer, I just felt like I had to deal with this thing because there was nothing more confusing, or confusing is not the right word, maybe. There is nothing more heartbreaking than picking up the pen and there is this voice shouting at the back of your head that you're not good enough, giving you all the excuses, like trying to push to the surface excuses or reasons why you're not good enough.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I think a lot of it is these expectations that like we all have based off of just like society kind of puts these expectations in different mediums, like kind of what you said, going on social media and like seeing all these quote influencers with like these fancy clothes and cars and going on these vacations. It just sets these expectations and kind of makes you like consciously or subconsciously like feel like you're not good enough for whatever it may be. And I think that's one of the big problems with social media itself is like you can obviously use it for incredible connections. Like without social media, we never would be speaking right now. But like it can also be a very negative thing if you kind of let it consume you and your kind of self-worth in a way.
Of course.
Yeah, and I definitely felt so kind of for me, like I've always been a really strong writer. Like even in grade school, I was like a pretty good writer, but I didn't really start to enjoy the writing process until kind of recently, I guess, because I don't know what it was like for your school in Nigeria or anything, but like in school, our essays, like we were required to write essays, and they were just on the like they were just boring topics. They were like explain in a persuasive essay why you should or shouldn't wear school uniforms. It was like stuff like that, right? And it was just like it kind of, as much as a great writer that I have always really been for my entire life, like it just kind of those types of like requiring you to write about a specific thing that you're not interested in, that kind of demotivates you to continue writing and like be interested in it in itself. And it really wasn't until I'd say like the past year or so where I started finding my own like writing voice and just like writing for fun. Like I started my blog last year just because one, I was like kind of bored, had nothing else to do, and two, because I just wanted to kind of write about these topics that I was interested in, which is something that like you don't really get in school because they tell you exactly what to write and whatnot.
Exactly.
But even now, like it's like
that's not writing, bro. I'm sorry to cut you short. But it's very interesting what you just mentioned because one thing that I discovered that contributed a lot largely to my imposter syndrome was one of the things that I took from school. In school, I can remember when I was just unpacking. I was just thinking about this like I think yesterday or today. When I was in school, the fact that I knew that I was going to write to pass, and the fact that what I was going to write, if I don't write well, I could probably get an F, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, that thing has built a fear in me. That this person going to like what I'm going to write? Is my professor, is my lecturer going to like what I'm going to write? And I never knew that unconsciously that thing was building up in me. I never knew, not until when I started becoming more aware of it. Like, man, the same feeling, bro. Because every feeling, bro, is connected. Every feeling that you feel, if you are feeling it, if you are feeling a particular feeling right now, there's likelihood that feeling has a source. It could be from your childhood, it could be from just somewhere, but like the likelihood is that feeling has a source, and the ability to be able to tackle that feeling effectively, we have to trace the feeling to where it all began from the source. And then one thing that I realized for myself was that the imposter syndrome. One of the things that contributed to the imposter syndrome that I have was that, or that I had, was that the thing that I carried over from school. The fact that I was not writing from my heart, I was writing from my head, and it was because, and that's not the way to write. I feel that's not the way to write. You should write what you love.
Exactly.
You should write what you love, what you love to write about, and not just condition writing, like write about this, but write about that. And normally, the way your thinking is functioning is not thinking along the path that you are asked to write about, and you have to you have to go against yourself. You have to go against yourself to write the things that you were told to write, and that is like blocking creativity. And to unblock the creativity, you just have to turn the table, to do the opposite of what. And that was one thing that I did. That is one thing that I did, because I remember there was this. It's funny, bro. There was this exam that I did when I was in school, and because the lecturer was not was not just the kind of not the easiest of lecturers. I don't know why it's like that. It's just tough, just hard on people, just hard on students. And even from my secondary school. Now, and I remember my mind just all over the place whenever I'm trying to, whenever we were writing such kind of exams. My mind, I was having bad anxiety. I would be having bad anxiety, not feeling good enough, and then I realized all those things has built up. I mean, the thing didn't start now. That's one thing that I realized. It started from way back, and it was all because I was writing what I never loved to write about.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think kind of that happens a lot with just the education system in schools in general. Is there are so many different things that kids, when they're school age, are kind of into, or they're interested in. They're creative in a lot of different aspects, but I think the way that a large part of the education system is structured, it kind of detracts you from all those avenues. Like what you were saying about the teacher, and just my experience with not really enjoying writing because of the way that the schools made you write about these specific topics that it just detracts you from wanting to write and expressing your creativity. And I think you kind of have to take a step back at some point in life, grow from it, kind of realize that it's not that you don't enjoy writing, or it's not that you don't have a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell, and writing, in my opinion, I think writing is the rawest form of creativity and expression of yourself that there is. And it's taking a step back from the system and education and whatnot, and kind of detaching the way that schools taught writing to just writing for the sake of writing and sharing your message and your story. That's a very I think that's a very important distinction that a lot of people don't really understand and even grow from. Is people might be interested in this is actually an example that I've heard a lot, is a lot of kids are interested in art. They love drawing, they love painting, whatever it may be, but we're conditioned into kind of detaching and moving away from art, because we're told that, oh, you're not going to make a lot of money as an artist, like you're never going to make it as an artist, and like that, because of just that, like they don't continue their artists or their creativity and artistry just because like they were told something as a young kid and it kind of just stuck with them.
And that's the way it is for probably 60% of the kids on the face of the earth, like right now, bro. I feel, to be educated, really, the way nature designed us, the way the universe probably planned or designed the human race to be educated. I don't feel we need to go to school. Not the kind of school that we have in most parts of the world.
Yeah.
For myself, especially with the kind of experience that I've been having lately, and the kind of growing up that I have, and the way that I've been the way that I've been able to understand the African society. I don't really feel we need to go to school not even the kind of schools that we have right now. But I don't think we need to go to school, because all we need to do basically is just to allow the mind that the child has, to allow the mind express itself in whatever way it wants to express itself, and then by expressing the kind of mind, the kind of genuine mind that the child has, I feel like there will be more originality in the world, because the fact that most people even studied things that they were not supposed to study, it is causing them to do the things that they are not supposed to do as a job or as a work. And this in turn is creating an unhappy society, because a lot of people are doing the things that they don't want. Not because, yes, the society has led them to that line, but it all started from somewhere. And where did it all start? It all started from the point where they had to study the things that they were not supposed to study. They were not allowed to express their mind. And the fact that they were not allowed to express their mind, they study all sort of things, all sort of things that will make them get a certificate, and then they were conditioned to feel like that certificate or whatever paper it is, we get them a job, we get them in life. Whereas if they had been allowed to express their mind the way the divine God has built their mind, the way their mind came from, wherever it came from, when they incarnated or when they were born, if they were allowed to express their mind the way it was supposed to be expressed, not only will they be happy, genuinely happy, they will most likely be richer. They might not be rich materially. They might not be rich materially, but it's almost hard not to be rich materially when you express yourself, because when you're doing what you love, it's almost like money comes to you. You don't have to chase the money, really, because what I don't know if I'm getting away from the point.
No, I definitely agree with you. Keep going.
Because what's the society and what the work that a lot of people are doing, what it is turning out to be for most people, is that it is making them do the things that they don't love, and so on. It is making them feel like they have to chase money, and you're not supposed to chase money. That is why you feel like, look at Jay-Z, for example. That is why it feels like the artists are the richest people in the world, or one of the, or most of them are very rich, because what are they doing? They're just expressing themselves. Everybody's born with a talent. That is what I believe, and I feel like a lot of artists we are bringing to this too. Probably like Jay-Z, Beyonce, and all, like whatever artist you want to mention who is successful today, successful in terms of spirituality, mentally and physically as well. Most of these artists, I feel like if you ask them, they will tell you that we are not supposed to run after money, because from whatever lives they are living, it is quite obvious, even to the collective consciousness, that these people are not really working hard. They are just expressing themselves, and they are happy, and they are making money. Money is flowing to them. So I think we are not supposed to go to school the way we are supposed to go to school, and that is why I am particularly interested in Elon Musk's idea of changing the school system. There's this book by I think Robert Kiyosaki, Fake People, Fake School, Fake Money. I don't know if that's the correct title of the book, but there's something like that. And bro, it's obvious. I think the more the human consciousness raises, I feel it will become obvious to people. Not that you shun school 100%. Don't go to school. No, that is not what we're saying. I mean, some people will need school, but not even this kind of school. But even with this kind of school system that we have right now, some people will need school. But I feel like majority of the people on the face of the earth right now, especially the evolved minds that we have right now, probably people who are in their teen, people who are in their 30s, and people who are probably in their 40s as well. Most people, I feel, in my opinion, bro, in this age bracket, do not need education the way it might sound counterintuitive.
No, I definitely agree.
I'm just being honest.
I definitely agree with that, because I think one distinction that like a lot of people kind of don't really realize is that school does not necessarily equate to education. Like you can learn, like learning doesn't stop when you end school. Like unless, I mean, for some people it does, and that's like not the way to live, in my opinion. Like learning is a continuous process. Education, like you can educate yourself and learn just an incredible amount of useful things, like without going to school, like what you're talking about. And like I'm not saying that school isn't important for some things. Obviously it's important for like in a lot of ways, especially when you're younger, I'd say. But like the thing about the way the school system is in the education system today is that what you were saying about like people, it kind of places you into these jobs that you don't want to do because people chase the money, like what you said. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, because through education and current schooling and whatnot, is we're told to like get good grades so we can get a good job, so we can get a lot of money and everything. And like that's so backwards, because like what you were saying about like I think the world would be a lot better place if people actually followed their passions and purpose, and like were actually genuinely happy with what they did. Like if you like, no matter how much money you make, like there's always going to be like there's, just take the example of, there's a lot of countries where they like people don't make a lot of money, but they're extremely happy, like especially compared to like the United States and the Western world and everything. Like and so money,
a lot of places like that.
Yeah, money does not equate to happiness. It's like what you are, how you choose to live your life, how you are kind of moving about that. And like, so you also go ahead and like
one of my favorite artists of all time is Bob Marley. Because my dad loves Bob Marley a lot. And when I was a child, he played most of his songs, and I just evolved into his music, so to speak. But one of his ideas, because I love his ideas of life. Because Bob Marley, for me, aside from being an artist, is one spiritually inclined person. His vibration, his energy, I feel like he's still on the face of the earth today, even though Bob Marley is no more on the planet, physically. But the energy that he has left, in terms of his lifestyle, in terms of his music, in terms of everything that has to do with him, a lot of his energy is still on the face of the earth right now. And one of these ideas that I love the most is, there was a time that an interviewer asked him if he was rich,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Said, when you say rich, what do you mean? And then the guy, I think, said, do you have a lot of money in the bank? And Bob Marley replied to him and said, I don't have that kind of money. My richness is life forever. And one of the things, just to deviate a little bit, I just hope I'm not deviating. One of the things that I took away from the cartoon show is that your spark. What makes you happy in the world? In this world, in this 3D world, what will make you happy, or what causes you to be happy? Might just be the little things. It might just be it might just be staring at the butterflies. It might just be the silliest of things.
Yeah, small things.
It might just be chilling with a dog. And you'll be happy. Like if you choose to see it that way, or if you choose to live your life that way, it's almost like you can be happier than anyone who has the best of the material possessions.
Yeah.
If you choose to see it that way.
No, I definitely agree, and I think one thing that's important to realize that a lot of people don't realize is that wealth and success don't necessarily equate to like money. Like when you hear the word wealth, you probably think of like a bunch of money, but like you can be wealthy in the relationships you have, and wealthy in how happy the experience is and whatnot. It's like the non-physical things that you can't measure. Like I think that's the most important thing to take out of just everything. Like your quote about Bob Marley is like such an important thing to realize, because
I feel.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead this time. I've been cutting you off before.
No, I lost my train of thought. I was just ranting, kind of, honestly.
What did you say?
I was gonna say the quote that you said about Bob Marley, about like he was happy with what he had, his like the way he lived his life, and that's what he considered to be wealthy. I think more people need to think of it in that way, and think about like in terms of like how you feel, like happiness. If you love what you do, like nobody can tell you you're unsuccessful. That's just like there's this stigma of like what a successful life is based off of like society's definition of success, and like success is different for everybody. Like if you love what you do, if you're happy, if you have great experiences and relationships, like nobody can tell you you're unsuccessful. And I think that's an important thing that a lot more people need to realize, and I think it would make for a much better and happier like society.
I was going to say one thing that will change this day, that will change this rather wrong perception of wealth, success, and all these things. If more artists, more celebrities become help people understand this better, because I feel one thing that is leading people astray in terms of associating false definition, or rather wrong definition, to wealth and success in general, is that they look up to celebrities. Most people look up to celebrities because they are all on the TV, their mobile phones, on the computer, on the brand ambassadors and all these things. They are all up in the face of people, and then that's unconsciously people has adapted that definition or that image of success as what success should be. And that's one thing that I think I was watching a YouTube video 2 days ago. I think Sad Guru went to Will Smith's house, and I feel like that's amazing. I really think that's a big step when artists, for example, when celebrities like Will Smith, is making people understand that you can be rich, you can be successful, you can be rich, you can be financially rich, but paramount or above all these things is what was before all these things came into play, and that is love. That is your true essence. That is who you truly are. And for you to to be that love, you have to, in some way, not necessarily be spiritual, but embrace the path of truth, and embrace the path of spirituality. Because I just feel that if people do this, if more celebrities do this, things will most likely change, because people follow celebrities a lot, and I feel like the fact that people follow celebrities a lot, most people follow them rather blindly. It is one of the reasons why the collective consciousness is where it is today, where the state that it is today. A lot of it, a large percentage of it, is resting or as shaped up through the celebrities.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I wanted to add this one quote from, I don't know if you've heard of Sam Colder. He's like a videographer on YouTube, but he has this video, and one of the quotes in the video is, what the world needs it's something like, don't try to change the world, because that's not what the world needs. The world actually needs more people to come alive, because that will change the world. And I think that's such a powerful thing, and like it makes me realize that so many people are unhappy with what they do in life. They think they're successful just because they're living out society's definition of like lots of money. But like if you look at it, like tons of people, millions of people around the world are unhappy with what they're doing with life. And I think that problem is because like you're not living a fulfilled, and you're not following your purpose and your dreams and everything like that. And I think like if more people were to follow what makes them truly feel most alive, and like their passions, their purpose, everything, like everybody has like passions and everything like that, and like more people were to actually pursue that, then I think that itself would completely change the world. It would make it one like a much better, happier society, and like just everything like that. Like it's important. I I wanted to ask you one last question before we end this. This has been a great talk. I've loved this. But my final question for you is, what is your dream in life? This is a question that I'm asking all my podcast guests, since this is the Dream Chasers podcast. So what is your dream in life? What do you hope to kind of see like as you grow up in the world and everything like that?
I just hope I'll be able to share my life fully. That's one thing that came to my mind just now. I think that's the best way that I can express it. That's the simplest way. I just want to share my life fully.
I love that.
I feel in myself that I have a lot to give to the world. I'm not my ego. Even though my ego is part of it.
Yeah.
No, for real. You can't kill the ego. You can't kill the ego because the ego is here. You just have to tame it. And I feel like one of the ways that you even understand who you are really is that by understanding your ego. Because like in the cartoon Soul, even though the guy was inside the cat, his ego was still, I don't know if you get this analogy, his ego was still wanted his dream because, even though his body, he was looking at his body, but his body was not the thing. It was just, I feel like the ego is also like a pointer. We just have to tame it. So I just hope I'll be able to share my life. I just have to be able to share I think I have so much life to share.
Yeah, I love that.
I am here to.
I think that goes back to like what we were talking about a little bit earlier about everybody has a story to share. Like I think if more people were to share their story and try to kind of understand others through their different perspectives and whatnot, I think that would create like just a more complete and better world, honestly. And I think one of the most important things you can do is sharing your light and sharing your experiences, like what you said, and because you never know like what lives you're going to change, who you're going to touch with just everything.
There's not even a reason to hold it back, because if you understand the laws of the universe, you understand that whatever you put out into the universe vibrates back to you 10 times. 10 times the energy, 10 times the energy you put out into the universe comes back to you. So there's almost no reason to hold back your light. It's just like, because when you give it out, it comes back to you. It just comes back. There's no other way. It's just the law.
Yeah, I think too many people in today's world kind of try to suppress their light in a way. Like they are afraid of what people are going to think of them, or how people are going to treat them or whatnot. And I think more people, just like what you said, need to just be themselves and put themselves out there and not try to suppress anything. Don't try to suppress your light. Like express it.
Every fear. Because I feel this in a lot of people, especially like people in their teens, 20s, even 30s, 40s. like not being able to um let their light out to the universe, let their light out to the world because of what people might think. And it's just all fear is linked to the fear of death. So what I'm just saying, probably like to people who are listening, or like whoever comes across this, is that understanding that every fear is linked to the fear of death. I would just say, die to yourself. Die to find death before death finds you. You have to consciously embrace death, because all fear is linked to the fear of death, and then or linked to the fear of dying or not wanting to die, whatever it is. Just embrace the fact that you will die someday, and don't fear death. As horrible, because that is one thing we don't want to face, and that is one thing that is holding us back. If we as just humans can just let go of that fear of whatever it is that people will say, we are slowly embracing we are letting go of the fear of death. And when you let go, I think, because that's one thing I feel like I'm doing gradually every day. When I let go of the fear of death, I give myself the chance to live fully. I'm not worried about the next second. I'm not worried about the next minute. I'm not even worried about the next day. I try not as much as possible not to give a fuck about. I'm sorry if I can use the. I don't know if I can use the.
No, you're good. You're good.
I try as much as possible not to give. I just try as much as possible not to give a fuck about what people are saying or what people are thinking, because you can't. You can't, bro. Because it's we are here for a reason. You were born with your flaws for a reason. Don't want to be perfect, because nobody is perfect. You will never meet anyone here who's perfect. Everybody is just in a stage of evolution, and it's just the more you embrace the fact that you're evolving, the better you will evolve, and the faster you will evolve. So just let go. It's hard to do, but at the same time, it is easy to do, because when you let go of that fear of death, when you let go of the fear of all those things, you realize you've just been holding on to. Nobody has been against you, or against you except you. You just let go, and you become free, bro. You become free.
I definitely agree. I love that. I think like what you said about every fear is linked ultimately to the fear of death, and I think letting go and kind of just embracing the life that you have right now, like living it to the fullest potential, and like living a life that you will look back on and be fulfilled and thankful and happy that you lived. Like if that is how you live your life, there's no reason to fear death. Is just like if you lived your life to the fullest and had a fulfilling and enjoyable life, then what more is there to do? What more is there to give to the world? And so I think that's I love that last message, and I think that's a great way to end this podcast. But thank you so much for being on the show. I loved this conversation, absolutely loved it. I'd love to have you on as a guest again sometime in the future. But before we end this, where can the listeners find you and your work, and your social media and everything like that? And I'll link these all down below in the description.
My IG. I have this IG this code IG page. Brave Words. BRAVEWORDZ. Brave Words. BRAVEWORDZ. And on Twitter. TESMMRE. Timmy. TESMMRE. I hope I spelled that correctly. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll link all these below.
And I have. Sorry.
I'll link these in the podcast description, so listeners can like click on them. But yeah, thanks again for being on here, bro. This was a great conversation. I loved every minute of it. And yeah, thank you for the listeners for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next Dream Chasers podcast.